Semion Mogilevich, the Russian mafia boss. Russian criminal leader Semion Mogilevich was born in Ukraine, but no one knew that the little child would become one of the most wanted people in the world. He was an evil genius who did smuggling operations, killings of thousands of people, human trafficking operations, forgery, and money laundering. Besides these, he was also accused of exchange scams, mail fraud, arms trafficking, security fraud, and much more. Due to his clever strategies and cruel nature, Semion was named Brainly Don and Boss of Bosses. The key countries where he had significant financial and illegal operations were Italy, the United Kingdom, Hungary, and Canada. It was January 1994 when a special agent of the FBI, Thomas Fuentes, and his team first heard the name of Russian mafia godfather Semion Mogilevich. In Budapest, Hungary, Semion was setting up his worldwide illegal empire while also doing a wide variety of typical racketeering activities. According to Craig Unger, an investigative reporter, while Semion was in Budapest, he had his own arms factory. In his arms trading, he was dealing on a massive global scale, allowing him to make a lot of money. To launder these millions of dollars he earned from his shady business, Semion invested in businesses worldwide. Some of his investments included a textile company in Israel, an import-export company in Los Angeles, a basketball team in Russia, a Japanese restaurant in Prague, an oil firm in Bulgaria, and crude oil corporation in the UK. He even had the first funeral society in Moscow. That time in the mid-90s, there was a proliferation of Russian organized crime groups, and they began competing with each other for control and supremacy, and they competed violently. However, Semion was different from all because he would destroy his rival groups entirely. By 1994 and 1995, among the top competing organizations was Solzhenitsyn, which was run by Semion Mogilevich. In Washington, D.C., in July 1995, the FBI realized that Semion was expanding his empire by taking his game to the next level and sucking money out of the USA. What separated Semion from the rest of the clientele of gangsters worldwide was his financial knowledge of how to penetrate the global financial network. Out of Semion's various scams was YBM Magnex, after which the FBI started investigating wide-scale money laundering operations suspected of cleansing billions of dollars in illicit profits. Semion was accused of defrauding Canadian and U.S. investors with $150 million in a complex international financial scheme. YBM Magnex was the first case in which people from the former Soviet Union were engaged in security fraud in North American markets. Supposedly, YBM was producing industrial magnets and gaining tons of profit in exchange. The authorities looked at that as a potential stock fraud case and decided to conduct a search at the YBM facility in Pennsylvania. They discovered much evidence about the operation, but not a single magnet, revealing the YBM magnets was a fraud from beginning to end. After defrauding hundreds of people, he immediately fled with legally obtained passports from other European countries. This was when the FBI revealed the newest names on their most wanted list. The FBI was deeply concerned about what Semion was doing. Thus, Dawn was on the FBI radar screen after that. In order to catch the most significant mafia leader, the FBI needed to find people in Eastern and Central Europe they could partner with. So, FBI agent Thomas Fuentes immediately fled to Budapest and initiated an academy where officers from all Eastern Bloc countries could go and learn how to be police officers. This Budapest task force was an unusual operation for the FBI that allowed them to conduct research and gather intelligence about Semion. After days of hard work, the FBI finally learned that Semion would be at a summit meeting with various mobsters in Budapest. That's when they conducted a major operation and arrested several people from his organization. However, Semion managed to escape 10 minutes before the raid. FBI was trying to infiltrate his organization, but Semion seemed to have a sixth sense when a member of his organization might be open to working with law enforcement. A man named Tomas Boros, who was a restaurateur and a mafioso of Budapest, had to pay off the Russian mafia, and he was sick of it. Thus, he became an informant of the police, putting his life at risk. Once Semion discovered it, to kill Boros with a massive explosion. After Boros's death, there was hundreds of bombings in Budapest, and supposedly, that was Semion's signature. Later, Semion went to Hungary, looking for a place in Europe where he could set up his headquarters. When Milan Mikes, who worked in the Czech police crime unit, learned that Semion had made U Halibu restaurant his headquarters, he transmitted the information to his superior, Staniak Makacek. Staniak learned through insiders that Semion and other mafia leaders would meet at his restaurant. On May 31, 1995, the police raided and arrested all the gangsters except Semion, who managed to escape 10 minutes before the raid. It turned out that the raid was leaked by someone from police. A few weeks later, Semion invited Staniak for a meeting to which the authorities agreed. A meeting was arranged in Poisdorf, a small town in Austria right at the border. After the formalities, Semion put the deal on the table. In exchange for giving information about Russian organized crime, Semion wanted to get his prohibition of stay revoked. After 2 days, when the officers declined the offer, Semion called and threatened them. As a consequence, Staniak and Milan were arrested for a fabricated case. However, the court ultimately ruled that they were innocent, but nothing was the same for Milan, as he lost his wife, changing his life in a significant way. In September 1999, Semion had finally been located. The FBI had a warrant, and they were planning with Hungarian authorities to arrest him. Hungarian police conducted a major raid, but Semion managed to escape again. After flying to Russia, Semion gave his first ever British interview, claiming that the FBI was spying on him and falsely accusing him. Although Semion insisted on his complete innocence, he had achieved international notoriety as one of the significant Russian crime figures. He was in the protected state, but didn't pay off every key person he should have in Moscow for protection. Resultantly, on January 23, 2008, one of the most wanted people around the globe was finally arrested by Moscow police. Semion and his partners were accused of a 50 million rubles tax evasion scheme. Before he was arrested in 2008, he took control of the Ukraine energy trade, which was very lucrative. Essentially, this was a scam taking money away from the Ukrainian people. So this became a real international issue, compelling Ukrainian Prime Minister Yulia Tymoshenko to sue Semion. Semion was harder to keep than to catch. Soon, crime lord Semion was released by the Russian court after his detention period expired. After being free again, Semion went to Naples, Italy, where he was not protected by Russian authorities. Mario Scarmella, a consultant on security and intelligence matters, investigated Semion's activities because Semion had a connection with the Italian organized crime. Mario got in contact with Alexander Litvinenko, an ex-Russian Secret Service agent who was one of the most influential figures in the history of espionage. As Alexander was lieutenant colonel, the man who was spying on powerful people, he unfolded everything he knew about Semion and his background. According to Alexander's research, Semion had great relations with the highest officials of Russia, which was the reason why the FBI couldn't arrest him. After Alexander's claims, everybody knew that the Russian authorities would never forgive him. Shortly after, in 2006, Alexander met 2 Russian guys in London, where he was poisoned with radioactive polonium mixed in a cup of tea. He died after 23 days of agony and unthinkable and atrocious suffering. Before his death, Mario had recorded hours and hours of discussions, which had the information regarding Semion's location. Semion now lives in a villa in the Moscow suburb. His house is next to Zyuganov, the head of the Communist Party in Russia. It is a highly secure place where only senior Russian officials can live. According to Moscow City Police, Semion has moved out, but no one is evident about it. He was seen last time at the head of the Russian Orthodox Church, where he could be seen alive and well. However, Semion doesn't know that he will die one day, even after killing people and ruling the Russian mafia for years. What's more unfortunate than having relatives but you can't visit them? The same is the case with Semion, because if he tries to get out of the country, the FBI will learn about it, and they will arrest him. Once Semion gets caught, nothing can prevent the Russian government from arresting him and having him face trial in other countries. After years of hard work, the FBI is still persistent in catching the most wanted Russian mafia one day. That's it for now. We'll meet you next time with another thrilling real-life story.